we can hope as we go forward to hold on to some elements of what we've learnt over the past 200, 250 years in terms of industrialism. And I hope, for example, that the future has in it some excellent and improving long-distance communications and information technology, so that we can continue learning with each other across the world and staying in touch with each other, and not becoming strangers to each other, and so on and so forth. But there is going to have to be a huge retrenchment. The idea that we can endlessly grow, the idea that we can endlessly keep on expanding our industrial base, the idea that so-called development can be endlessly exported, that everyone, as you said, the idea that everyone in China or everyone in India and so on can live as we're living in Britain right now, these are for the birds. So what's the implication of that? Well, the implication of that, of course, is that to avoid a ridiculous, unfair situation where we in England say, well, we're going to keep our gains, thank you very much, but you need to stop developing. What we need to do in countries like this is to take leadership by actually rolling things back and showing how we can live off less, and showing how the areas, the massive elements of so-called industrial progress which have been damaging, showing how those can be put into reverse, and how if we, for example, expand the amount of genuine renewable energy technologies that we have, that means getting rid of fossil fuels and getting rid of them very, very fast. And that means that we're going to have a future in which overall we live off less energy. Now, some people, when they hear that, they think, oh, well, this sounds really grim, right? I was told that we were always going to be getting richer, progress was going to go on forever, and so on. You're saying that's going to end, and my response to that is twofold. I'm saying, yes, the reality is that is going to end, and the only choice, as I said earlier, is whether you end it voluntarily or whether you have an end drastically forced upon you by collapse. But the mistaken assumption is to think that our lives are going to get worse if we don't go on so-called progressing forever, because my claim is that there is a beautiful coincidence between the very things that we need to do to start living within our means and to have an ecologically sane future, and the very things that we need to do in order to improve our lives and improve our well-being. Because the truth is actually that, and I know you've talked about this on some of your previous podcasts, the truth is that actually many people in a society like this one are living reasonably long lives, but actually quite miserable lives. There's a huge epidemic of loneliness. There's an epidemic of mental ill health. People find their lives in many ways deeply unsatisfying and lacking in purpose. We've got all this stuff, but is it really making us happy? And what I think we can learn so clearly from the great wisdom traditions, from the great philosophers, and from leaders like Gandhi, for example, in recent times, what I think is so clear is that there are ways of living that are lower in their ecological impact and higher in their propensity for people to actually have good, satisfying, interconnected lives. And this is what I call the beautiful coincidence. And this beautiful coincidence is what might still make it possible for us to save ourselves.